everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Coaching Call podcast. On this podcast, we'll cover various types of coaching by trainers in sports, martial arts, fitness, and business. We'll discuss each coach's methods to getting the most out of their respective athletes or clients and how they attempt to change the platform in which they coach. Join us on a fun adventure as we discuss unique coaching styles. Coaching is a universal part of how we get others to get something done. Join your host, Rafael, and his guests on this unique journey in coaching.
Hi, I'm Sifu Rafael, and this is the Coaching Call podcast. If you enjoy this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. This episode was made possible by listeners like you. Sophie, so great to see you. How are you this morning? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you, Sifu. Love being here and hanging out with you and your people and talking about all the good things we talk about.
Oh yeah, and thank you for coming on my other shows as well. Really appreciate you. But I'm excited for today because this is slightly different. I get to know more about you.
Yes. Always love doing that.
I'm excited. We were talking earlier and you're doing something really fun now. And we're going to get to that in a little bit, but I want to get to know you even deeper. Tell me about where you were born. And before the age of 10, who would you say influenced you the most?
So I was born in Belleville, Illinois, on a farm that's near St. Louis, Missouri. So I'm a farmer's daughter, and from birth to age 10, I'd have to say my biggest influence were there was a couple of different teachers I had from kindergarten to age 10 that really inspired me. I had a really great kindergarten teacher. I remember her to this day. Wow. And same with first grade, third grade, and fifth grade. I remember those years and those teachers really well. And they all happened to be women. And they were really they all had their own special way of inspiring me as a youngster in elementary school back then.
What's one of the inspirations that you still recall till today?
Well, the two of them were much older. In fact, I believe my kindergarten teacher retired shortly after I had her. And to see them still going, still caring about their students and teaching and, helping us learn at that early age and, really putting their heart and soul in it. Because I have kids. I mean, they're grown now, but I watched my kids go through elementary, junior, and high school and whatnot. And the education system has changed. It's not as great as it used to be. The teachers, for no fault of their own, just aren't that dedicated and inspired anymore because they're not well taken care of by the system anymore.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. I think we do have a broken system, right?
Agreed. The public education system is not good. I agree.
So your teachers influenced you. Moving on, who would you say before 20 was somebody that you can still recall, and maybe what's one of the memories that you have of how it's made you who you are today?
That would be yet another teacher in high school. Her name was Mrs. Meggs. And she inspired me in those days to get on stage and act. And I was in the drama club and I acted on stage in the plays that she put on with the drama department and the drama club. And she also, her and I bonded on a deeper level than teacher and student. I mean, by the time I graduated high school, I was actually calling her mom. She was like a second mom to me.
Wow.
She bonded with me, she nurtured me, and she believed in me and supported me in all that I did, because I was also in Model United Nations and she was a part of that as well. So I had this double duty thing going on, and that's what inspired me to get my political science degree, which I actually have never used because of very many reasons. But But she was my inspiration of what I thought I wanted to do when I graduated from high school and went to college.
Mm. For you to call her mom, wow.
Yep, she
Pretty
was like a
incredible.
second mom to me. It was really that she was that wonderful of a human being and a teacher, and really, was that way with all students. Not, I mean, not everybody called her mom like I did, but she cared for and looked out and supported her students in their educational endeavors in multiple ways. And she was very inspiring to me in that respect. And it was nice to have that kind of support at school during those times, because your high school years are crazy times, to say the least.
Yeah, especially with teenagers, sometimes they go off the rails, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have to sneeze in a little bit. I apologize.
Okay. Bless you.
Usually it's two, so I don't know if the other one is coming anytime soon. But when you're going through this whole high school, which some people either had an amazing time in high school or a terrible time, and some people can't even recall it. Did you have any troubling times during those times, or was it because you were so well rounded and somebody there to protect you that you didn't go through those times?
I did have difficult times because I was, in those days, I was one of the nerds. I was one of the brainiacs, I mean, because when I went to high school, I transferred from one school district to another. And in the previous school district, I was allowed to take Algebra 1 as an eighth grader. So when I got to this high school and I was taking Algebra 2 as a freshman, I was immediately labeled a nerd, a brainiac, someone who's too smart, those kinds of things. And I was in band, so I was a band geek. And, so I wasn't in the popular crowd. I wasn't in the cliques. I wasn't a cheerleader. So I did have those like those stereotypes and those stigmas as a part of my high school years. And, I learned to handle it. And, I had three older sisters who went through it first. So I kind of had coaching from them as their experiences in high school as a girl. And most of them, I mean, my one sister did make it to cheerleading, but the other two were definitely not cheerleaders. They were more nerdy and whatnot, like I was. So I did have them to coach me through it, so to speak, because I was fairly close with my sisters, even though my oldest sister is almost 10 years older than me. She was still, in fact, her and I were probably the closest for most of my years growing up than the two that were, closer to me in age.
Wow. So you had guidance. I like that.
Yes, I did. I had support, thankfully. And that one thing, that having that support, bonding with those kinds of people to, support me in times of good and bad has been, I've carried that with me through my entire life. To this day, in business and life, I surround myself with people who support me, who cheer me on, who believe in me, all of those things, including my husband of 33 years. He's been by my side through it all too. And believe me, we've been through the ups and downs of marriage too. So, having that support system in my life from a young age on has, been critical to me, getting into life, being successful, getting through the bad times as well as and celebrating the good times. So it's something I continue to surround myself and do to this day.
Beautiful and brilliantly done, right? Because we have to remember the ones that put the step for us, right? Gave us the ladder, gave us the rope to pull us up.
Absolutely.
When you consider your life, what is the monumental moment where you knew, wait, this is what I need to do?
Well, it started after being a working mom. I mean, I have two children. They're both grown now, but as I was raising my two kids, I tried to be a stay-at-home mom, but financially, even then, it just wasn't a thing. And, getting a job pays for daycare, but then it's not helpful. So when I first just was like, I got to find something working from home. And this is a little over 20 years ago, because my daughter is now 25. And I started this when she was about 2. So about 23 years ago or so, I was looking for something to do from home, but thankfully I was smart enough to know the difference between the scams and the stuff that was not good, and where to go to find, stuff that I could do from home. And when the first thing I did was actually a remote job long before remote jobs were a thing. And that is, that was the catalyst for always working from home, for always figuring out what to do online as an entrepreneur, well, as a freelancer for many years. But then it ended up being a business that has morphed, grown, changed, evolved, completely crashed, and reborn, the whole 9 yards. But getting into the online space and becoming a virtual, at that time, virtual customer service representative, and then virtual business manager, et cetera, that moment there, finding that one remote job, even though it didn't work out for the rest of my life, which is a good thing because I like where I'm at now.
Right.
But it was the thing that showed me I could work from home, legitimately making good money and not paying for daycare, be there for my children when I wanted, going to school, after school, all those things allowed me to be a really good work at home mom, to be able to be well-rounded in bringing in revenue for the family, taking care of my kids, my husband, the house, the things, until I was actually earning enough to do extras. Like, that's where I got a housekeeper way back when. And I've had housekeeping services ever since. And that was one of the inspirations that came out of me working from home and not dumping money in daycare. I could dump money into a housekeeper, so I didn't have to do it. And I could focus on my kids, the business, the work, the things, and not have to worry about keeping my house clean.
Yeah. It's the old adage. But by the way, I want to shout out to Joe from Dublin. He actually doesn't live there. He's on vacation. So thanks for jumping on. It's the old saying that why do a 10-hour job when you can hand it off to someone else and make way more money doing what you need to do, right? So it's delegating, right? And delegating is probably the most important thing that we can do as an entrepreneur, right? As somebody who, and technology has really evolved that allows you to be a better entrepreneur. I mean, look, Joe's logging in from Dublin, right? He's on vacation. He decided he's got a little downtime. He took a look at us, and technology has really given so many people a way to work anywhere in the world.
Work from anywhere, anytime, and set, they can set everything for themselves, what works for them. They can create a business if they want. They can set their rates. They can figure out what they're delivering, whether it's services, products, and they can do all the things from an online space. I mean, even if you have physical products, there's places that will store your stuff and ship it for you. You don't even have to be the shipper anymore. Right. I mean, it's such a huge, amazing world with all the technology, the internet, and everything that goes with it, to, automation, the whole 9 yards is just making it such a great place to work, so that you don't have to go into a job if you don't want to. You can be your own boss. Some of us are, bigger, badder bosses than bosses we've had in the past.
Without a doubt.
You gotta, it's like, you gotta put up with yourself as your boss. And that can be challenging in and of itself, because, you don't think about it, but you are your own boss until you start delegating and have a team. But then you're the boss of the team until you grow it even further to where you're the CEO, leader of the company, and everybody else is doing the thing. Everybody else is running it, doing it, the whole 9 yards. And you just get to sit back and be the leader and the CEO and the visionary of the company.
And that's the key. That's the key to success as an entrepreneur, because a lot of people may start off as a solopreneur, right? Like you did, right? You started in an endeavor that has really catapulted you into a position where you have people doing things for you. You don't have to do every little thing, which can become exhausting.
It is very exhausting. I mean, I know from my own experience when I'm speaking about delegating and building teams and, especially now, in the marketing space, there is way too much to know and do in marketing to try to do that and run your business and deliver your services or your product. You wearing all the hats is so much harder now than it's ever been because of all the different things that go on in owning your own company and being your own business.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting when we consider what you spoke to us, right? The people that have inspired you all the way from kindergarten, right?
Yeah.
And then she retired shortly after, and even all the way up to high school. Who would you say were some of the other people in your life that have influenced you after that?
Well, ever since I got into the online space, and especially after I started my business, actually starting my business was, I owe much gratitude to 3 virtual assistants that I met on Twitter back in 2009 when I restarted all of this as a virtual assistant. They're the 3 women who helped me start my business, name it, get my LLC, get the, some of the back end stuff together. They even helped me get a website up. I mean, those 3 ladies are responsible for me being where I am today. And I'm still in touch with them through social media and text message and whatnot to this day. We're like friends for life, and we're always there for each other. Those 3 women are really the biggest inspiration that started me out. But over the years of growing, evolving, changing, all those things, I've had some business coaches and whatnot over the years that have really inspired me. Right now, I have Allison Maslin of the Pinnacle Global Network and my mentor in that program, Giles Fabris. They're my current inspiration and current support. But one of my very first coaches, big time full coaches, coaching program, the whole 9 yards, was David Nagel. He had a huge influence on me in the early days of my business, inspiring me to, because for a while I was just like, I'm just making money. That's all it was. But then, then it was a business. And then I started like, wait, I want to make 6 figures. I want to do this. I want to do that. And he came into my world through a client, and I fell in love with him as a coach, not fell in love with him romantically, but who he was, his success, his teachings really spoke to me. And I spent several years working with David Nagel, growing to 6 figures. He was with me when I lost it all and started over, and he helped me grow it right back to 6 figures, multiple 6 figures and beyond. And that he was one of my biggest inspirations as well along the way.
Beautiful. It's I don't know if anybody really understood what you just said. Let me break it down, because it was powerful. What you just said was so powerful, and if we don't want to glaze over it, we want to dive into it, because you asked for help.
100%.
You needed the help, but you found it in a coach. People, we need coaching. This is why I'm having this show right here, because coaches like yourself, trainers, people who impact our lives, to me, you're a hero, because you and David is a hero to you, and probably many others.
Yeah.
Anybody who can help you navigate the waters so you don't sink and drown, right? They're your lifeguard, right?
Or who rescue you when you are drowning. I mean, because even with a coach by your side, you can do things that cause you to go under, and they're like, wait, well, got to pull you back up. Come on, come back here, honey.
Let's go. Let's go.
Fix this.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. So, how important do you believe coaching is for a business owner, even somebody who's already successful?
It will be it's a part of being in business, being a business owner for your entire life of your business. If you think you have learned it all and you know it all, and you stop any coaching or mentoring of any kind, I can guarantee your business will either stagnate and just be there, or it will start to fall, because we get into tunnel vision. I do it myself. I'm guilty of it. If I don't have a coach or mentor by my side, mastermind groups, different people in my world that can pull me out of anything, or because you can get blinders on, you can get tunnel vision and miss things that could catapult you further along, that can make you more money, that can make things more effective, efficient, whatever, because you as an individual cannot know it all, cannot be it all. And there's always someone out there that is where you want to be, unless you just want to sit and be stagnant where you're at. And most people don't get into business to just hit this point and just sit there. They want to keep growing and going, even when, they get to the point where they're just, even if they're already to the CEO and visionary of the company, it doesn't stop there. They still want their company to grow and evolve and change and do more. They're just not doing it themselves. And having those coaches, those mentors by your side who are where you want to be, it's needed always. I don't think I could ever, survive and do what I do without the business coaches and mentors. I mean, yes, I have my husband by my side, who is my biggest cheerleader and supporter. But he's in the IT world. He's in the super big IT world. So he's in a global company. He's got the global company perspective. It's like, I'm not global. So I need someone in the, the entrepreneur space, the online business space, so to speak, who's been through what I've been through and then some to help me get through it. Because his is he has a remote job, but it's for a global corporation. Corporate is different than what we do here in the online business world. So having a coach and mentor is key to success in your life and your business the whole way along until you retire.
Yeah. A lot of entrepreneurs are always looking, I shouldn't say a lot, but certain entrepreneurs, the reason they're called entrepreneurs is because they're looking for the next business to start, to nourish, and to hand off. That's like kind of what I do, right? For me, it's always, what's my next venture? What's my next thing? And to fulfill it so that we can put people in the right place, give someone else a position so that they can carry it along, right? So my goal, like yours, is, how can I make this better every day? How can we improve it, right? And a lot of times, people, and here's the crazy thing, right? Hollywood portrays rich people as evil, right? Big business is evil.
Yep.
But meanwhile, without business, we would all not survive. We would all suffer, is what I really wanted to say. Business is what makes the world move. Without business, there'd be nothing. I mean, you could not get an orange at a supermarket. You could not get a carton of milk. You couldn't even buy water, right? You definitely have to get it from the tap. There'd be no filtration system. There'd be nothing. So business makes everything. And so this is why a lot of people don't realize that everything that we do as a business is helping someone else, right?
100%. We are serving others. And yes, we are making money in the process, but what we're doing serves others, has an impact on others, and lets them be successful and have an impact on others. It's a chain reaction, a good kind of chain reaction, where what we're doing for others helps them be better, do better, and help others do better. I mean, it's a train. It's a chain reaction. We're not just here in one little bubble making our money and serving a few people and not having an impact. And they're not, we wouldn't be here if we were just this little bubble of a thing that only did one, this little bit that didn't really serve others and allow them to serve others and continue on.
Yeah. When you talk about your husband, how'd you guys meet?
We met at a Denny's restaurant back home in Illinois on the graveyard shift. he was a newbie on the shift. And so myself and the other experienced server on the shift, one of my best friends at the time, we led the graveyard shift, and we were, training, and we were running the shift. And it's really funny because when we first met each other on graveyard shift, I thought he was a nerd, and he thought I was I don't know if I can cuss on this, but he thought I was a bitch. When we first met, we like clashed, but then a few months later, the group of us that always went out, together on off nights or after, breakfast after our graveyard shift, we invited him along. And once we got out of the work environment and got to be just ourselves out having fun, that's when we really connected. And that night was the night that started it all, just a few months later.
That's pretty funny. Well, maybe he thought you were so serious at work that you were not friendly or whatnot. How has that, the BITCH, and you can't say that on the show, right? How does that help you run a business?
It's the toughness in me. I mean, if I weren't of that nature when needed, not all the time, I don't live, breathe, and sleep that. But there,
Right.
when sometimes you got to be like that to get through things, to clear the path. Because, if you're just kind of sitting back and with your eyes kind of closed, not really seeing things and just letting things hit you and not really dealing with it, there are times where the bee needs to come out, but then there's also the other things that come out too. I mean, I'm also empathetic, and I'm a witchy woo-woo person. So the spiritual piece comes into play. It's being a well-rounded individual who knows which piece of me needs to be in charge, so to speak, to do what I'm doing in the moment.
I love when you said the B has to come out, right? But also at the end of that word is the H, and sometimes when the H comes out, that's where people kind of see deeper into you, which is the heart, right? If you will.
It is. I mean, it sounds, counterintuitive, but it starts with B, but it ends with H. And when you're being the B for the right reasons, it gets you through it. And then it turns into the heart and the soul and the love that, that came from, to be able to get through whatever that is that causes the B to come out.
And there's nothing wrong with the B. Sometimes the B has to be really present, doesn't it?
Oh yes, absolutely. Definitely. And I'm I have 2 kids, and I'm a grandmother, and a lot of time, I call myself the mama bear, the grandma bear, but sometimes I'm actually the mama bee, the grandma bee, when it comes to, taking care of even though they're grown kids, they're still my kids. They'll always be my kids. I'll always be their mama. And my grandson is my grandson. But if there's any threat, so to speak, to my children, whether it's, external or, just things going on in their lives, sometimes the bee comes out then too, and it's beyond the mama bear. It turns into the full bee. Because I'm there for my family too, for my husband. I mean, when my husband and I first got together, he went back into the army to support us. And he was stationed in Germany. And it took me 6 months to get over there, because we quickly got married so that I could go over as a spouse and not have to pay my way as a fiance. And, but I got over there, and, soldiers don't have any rights. So when their commanding officers are doing things that are not allowed, that are against regulations, the spouse has to stand up, not the soldier. And so I was in Germany standing up for my husband's rights as a soldier, and as, serving the United States. And I mean, and even when we got back to Clarksville, Tennessee, our first and last duty station in the United States before he got out, I was still being that bee standing up for him, even once we got back here. And when it came to him choosing to end his time and not renew, they were like, "Yeah, we'll let you out because your wife is a troublemaker." I mean, they literally said that to his face. "We want you out because your wife is a troublemaker." Because I stood up for my man. The men in his unit were like, "Well, how are you getting this and we're not?" Because he got his rights, but they still were harming the others. So he said, "Oh yeah, my wife went to the commanding officer." All the wives started going to the commanding officer. So I got labeled a troublemaker because the bee in me was standing up for my husband and his rights and our family and all those things. And then, other wives, followed suit. So I became the troublemaker because I riled up the wives to take care of their husbands. I riled up the bee and other women.
That's it. Oh man, that's a great story because they probably didn't know they could.
They didn't.
Yeah. How did you know? How did you know?
Because my husband knew. He told me, he goes, "The only way to complain in the Army is if the spouse does the complaining up the chain of the command, and then if the chain of command still doesn't do it at the top, then you go to your senators and your representatives of your state." And he knew this, and he told me this, so I started what I need to do. I never had to go to the congressman. I never had to go to that far, but I did. I knew because they can't do anything to the civilian. If they do anything to the civilian,
they're in trouble.
Then they're really in trouble, and they know better than to cross that line.
Wow, incredible! That's the first time I ever heard this. I'm loving it.
You're really getting to know me today, Sifu.
I'm loving it. This is great. Which leads me to one of your passions. You know what it is. Tell us.
It's digital marketing. That is my passion in my business. And then in my life, it's poker and Harry Potter.
So you have 3 passions.
I have 3 passions. I do.
Let's talk about Harry Potter.
Okay.
How did that passion, was it the movie? Was it the book? What was it? Was it your kids? How did that come about?
It started with my son. He started reading the books. And then, of course, when the movie started, we took him to the movies as well. And by movie 3, I was hooked. And I immediately dove into the books and gobbled up all the books that were out then. And each time a new one came out, I grabbed it. I read it first. Then my son got it. And we didn't buy 2 copies. We only bought 1. And Mom read it first. Went to all the movies. And it just, the world. I mean, I've always been into like magic and the mythologies, Celtic mythology, things like that. All of those things have always fascinated me, and the Harry Potter world was a world of both magic and mythology and life. I mean, because it is fiction, but it's fiction with life lessons involved, and it tells such a good story of a child in he was an outcast in his aunts and uncle's home until he didn't know even who he was until he got invited to Hogwarts to become the wizard that he is. And it changed his whole life, and his fascination of being Muggle born, as they call it, or he's a half-blood. It's the story of how he can triumph over all of that once he figured out who he is and what he is. But then, there were still trials and tribulations there. It wasn't like, oh, I'm a wizard, so life is all good now. Because even in the world of magic, in the wizarding world, there are the trials and tribulations. There's good versus bad. There's, all the things that happen in the story, and just how it evolved from a kid's story to kind of sort of an adult story.
Oh yeah.
It was, it was just magical. It spoke to my heart. It spoke to my inner child. It spoke to my fascination with magic and mythology and things. and it created a whole world that you can practically, you get into, with the books and the movies, but now you have Universal Studios, Orlando, and Hollywood, and even overseas now. I think there's one in Japan, if I remember correctly. You can they've built worlds where you can go get lost in Universal Studios Harry Potter, and it's like you're there. And I can get lost in it, and it brings me such joy, and it's that piece of me that allows me, even in the toughest times, the darkest of times, if I turn on Harry Potter movies or read the books or go to Universal, it immediately brings me back to joy and happiness and fun, because it reminds me that, there's more to life than the problem that I'm in the middle of right now.
Mm, mm. I don't want to make you jealous or anything, but I'm going to be doing a mastermind at Universal Studios in California at the end of February.
Nice.
It should be fun. It should be fun. I've done it. I've done it a couple of times. This one's going to be another one.
Nice. Very good. And I've not been to the one in Hollywood. I've only been to the one in Florida. And in a couple of years, I get to go to England for the Warner Brothers Studio one and all that over there. We were supposed to do it for our 30th, but that's when the pandemic was here, so we couldn't go. So on our 35th, in a couple of years, so in 2026, we'll be going to England, Ireland, and Scotland, so I can do all the Harry Potter stuff there, plus all the Scotland and Ireland stuff too. We're going to make a whole trip of it.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of fun.
I'm excited.
You said something that kind of cracked me up a little bit. We had COVID here. Well, we had COVID everywhere.
Yeah, we did.
Everything was shut down around the world, right?
Around the world. Yeah, it totally canceled. I mean, we hadn't even planned it yet, thankfully. We were on the verge of getting ready to start making those reservations, paying for those things, and then everything shut down. And we're like, well, yeah, no, we're not going now. Okay, we'll wait 5 more years.
So how long is that trip gonna be?
It's going to be at least 10 days, and I'm hoping 2 weeks, because, I mean, I've already got, a team running most of the things in my business. He is, he's an employee, so he can take paid leave and actually, leave for 2 weeks.
Nice.
Well, and there actually is one of the offices for his company is actually in Dublin, Ireland. So if he had to go to work, we could hit his office in Dublin if we needed to, because there actually is an office for the company in Dublin, Ireland. But, I mean, we're just by, 2 years from now, I'll be, fully on, top of being fully team run. Everything will be delegated. I'll be that visionary leader of the company, and I'll be able to go over there for 10 days, 2 weeks, and more or less unplug. I mean, on emergency, they'll be able to contact me as always, but I won't have to be like, oh, honey, we can't go sightseeing until I get my work done. It'll be, where are we going today, honey? Let's go. And hey team, head it out. If you need me, I'll be lost in Universal Studios, Harry Potter, or whatever, Warner Brothers Studios, or I'll be out at the Blarney Stone, or
yeah,
in
that's
the
awesome.
pub having a drink and listen to everybody talk with those accents,
Yeah. That will be definitely a blast. When you consider the world that was created for Harry Potter, it gave everyone who's either a nerd, a misfit, alone, not understood, or somebody who's just confused, a place to fit in. I love it.
It did. It was a true entire world. I mean, with everything that, is relatable to us, they started back in the early 2000s or late 90s, early 2000s, I think it was. And it's still relevant today. I mean, yes, they're doing, reboots and additional things, but the books themselves are the books, and the story is the story. And it's a whole world to get lost in. but it's not just a fantasy world to get lost in and like never come back,
Right.
to escape reality permanently, so to speak, because it is based on real life problems and things that happen. It's not just a bunch of magic and fun and made up stuff that doesn't really you can't really apply to anything, because it's got lots of life lessons in it that you can
Oh
apply to
yeah.
life.
Hmm. Hmm. I love how passionate you are about Harry Potter. When did you decide that you needed these items in your home, in your office? Because you've turned your office into like a Harry Potter cave, I guess you will, right?
We call it the magical Harry Potter office. Um, and creating an office like this came from the work I did with David Nagel. One of the things he taught us was making your environment, creating an environment you love to be in for
Mm,
everything, whether it's your home, your office, whatever. He taught us to create an environment for success and an environment to, for abundance and all of those things. And when it came time for me to have this office, especially in this house is one of the first, it's the second place we lived where I had my own full space of an office. The house before this had a space, but it really started in this house when I
mm,
had this really full dedicated office. And and then, but it also happened when certain things I have in here weren't even available until this office started coming about. I have 3 numbered signed prints, 2 of which are from the set designer, 1 is from his proteges,
mm.
and those didn't come out till several years ago, and I bought them at Universal Studios Harry Potter. But it's been a work in progress. But every trip I go to Orlando, I usually buy a little something new here and there. But
Nice.
it stems from creating an environment that has a positive influence on me when I'm working, and it keeps the fun going. It keeps me, in the magic of
Yeah.
life and of business in my world of Harry Potter, my mini world of Harry Potter here.
Mm. Love it. I love it. And even though it's not a real world, and we talked about the many lessons that are you can actually use right in real life situations. You can convert them from make believe to reality, as long as we're keeping everything safe, right?
Yes.
Um, that's one of your 3 passions. I don't want to go into marketing yet. Talk to us about your second passion.
Poker. Texas Hold'em poker. We've been playing poker for probably around 15 years.
Mm,
And it was a recreational hobby kind of a thing until a few months ago. A few months ago, our kids are grown, we're empty nesters, and we're looking at our future as just a couple who are empty nesters who, want to retire in, 10, 15 years, whatever have you. And, we realize that there's more to a retirement portfolio, so to speak, than stocks and bonds and things. We actually flipped the switch into creating wealth as
mm,
a part of, and revenue streams as a part of planning for the eventual retirement. And because we love poker so much, we have fun at it, and
mm.
we're pretty good at it recreationally. We just had to do a little bit of switching, so to speak, the mindset, and start treating it as a revenue stream, a job, a business. So a couple months ago, we launched ourselves into a secondary income stream of playing poker professionally.
Wow.
And so that started a few months ago, and it's been fun. And I'm practicing online because I live in Tennessee where you can't gamble. So I practice online with a poker site that, lets you play with fake money, obviously. And, it's fun. It challenges you. It's always different there. You're never playing the same
Mm,
way and the same people. You get to meet people, you get to travel,
really?
because, I have to go to the casinos. There's not there, again, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, where gambling's not allowed. But it's social, it's revenue, it's fun, but it's also, I mean, there's the mathematics of the odds for each hand. There's, the pot odds, there's the different things.
Right.
It really keeps you, it keeps your brain really, going healthy, and because you're always thinking and you're doing the math, and you're kind of you're learning the tells of the other players, or you're and even for me, I do let my intuition and gut guide me. I mean, I could think I have the best hand, but when I see someone else betting back at me, I'm like, sometimes I go on the raw feeling and not even the math and the odds. I'm like, you know what, I think they've got me beat, I'm going to fold. And a lot of times they'll flip it over and be like, oh yeah, they had me beat. My gut was right. So, I'm like, it allows me to do everything I do and love to do and have fun and meet people and the whole 9 yards.
Beautiful. What is there a particular, I don't play poker, right? I think I tried it when I was a kid. And I wouldn't mind learning, but I know there's different types of games in poker. What is your favorite one?
We play the No Limit Texas Hold'em. That's what we play.
No limit. What does that mean, no limit?
No limit means when you're playing the game, there is no limit on how much you can bet on any given hand once you get beyond the first round of blinds, because there's a small blind and a big blind where everybody has to put a little cash in every time it gets around to them. That's what starts building the pot. But, there's no, because there's a game called pot limit. And that means if the pot has $100 in it and you think you have the best hand, the max you can bet is $100. You can't bet more than that to try to push anybody off the hand so that they don't get a better hand than you by the end of the time the cards are dealt. Right. So this no limit means it can be, and depending upon the stakes, you can bet as much as you want. You can go all in, at any given moment, and risk all your chips and your cash at once. So that's why it's called no limit, is because there's no limit on how much you can bet once you get around that first round of betting of each hand.
So when somebody bets, they think they have a really great hand and they bet 20 times what was the last bet. Does that mean that the people who don't have that amount of money are out?
No, it doesn't. What happens is if they are betting, $500 and you only have 200 left in your stack, and you want to continue to play, you go all in with your $200, and then the dealer starts dividing the pot. The pot goes here for it. You can win if you're the $200 person. All you can win is this pot here. Everything above and beyond what you bet the 200 goes into a side pot that somebody else at the table can win. If they're, once, like the person who bet the $500, they can win both pots because they get that one and the original pot that got sectioned off for the person who's all in and can't bet anymore.
So the dealer has a lot of thinking to do.
Oh yes, the dealer has a lot of work to do. He's got to know, because he's also at the casinos, they take a rake, which means they take a percentage of the pot to pay the casino. And if it's a casino that runs, has promotions like bad beat jackpot, if you get bad beat on certain terms, you get like a $500 jackpot or whatever, and then there's, they do high hand offers, which is if you get like quad aces, 4 aces, that is a high hand and you'll get a reward for that. So the dealer has to figure the rake and what they take out for those little bonus promos and put that aside and be able to deal the cards, make sure, they're betting correctly. Cause, initially you have to bet based on the size of the blinds. But once you get beyond that, then it's just like, but he's got to make sure everybody's following the rules, betting correctly, that everybody, that no one acts out a turn, because it is a, it's a turn based thing. And some people will jump the gun and be like, oh, I fold, or, and it's like, wait, not your turn yet. Cause it can influence someone who's ahead of, who is going to do something, like if I was going to bet big and I hadn't bet yet, and someone who is supposed to wait until I'm done bets really huge, and I, out of turn, I'll be like, ooh, they might have a bigger hand. So I'm going to fold instead of bet. Right. And that influences the game, the pot size, all the things. So yeah, a dealer does not have an easy job. That is for sure.
I would think that the dealer has to have like 12 people with him.
Now, one dealer for up to 9
Wow.
people. The tables
Oh
are
my
either 6,
gosh.
8, or 9. Yeah, the table size is either 6, 8, or 9, depending upon the casino and the game. So yeah,
Interesting.
he's got some
Interesting.
dealers are dealing with 9 people at a table.
Is there like a 7 card, a 5 card?
No, no limit hold'em is a very specific structure. Everybody, you get dealt 2 cards, and the dealer puts out 5 cards total. And after he deals and everybody bets on the hand they have in hand before you see any cards, then he puts out 3 cards. It's called the flop. And then your 2 cards can match something there to make a pair, 2 pair, whatever. And people start betting again based on if they think they have the better hand, but between their 2 cards and what's on the board. And then a turn card, a 4th card comes out. Everybody gets to bet again. And then a 5th card, the final card, the river, comes out. And the last round of betting happens. And then whoever has the best hand based on, either it, and it can be, if it can be all 5 cards on the table. So everybody would split the pot then, because sometimes it happens where, a 5 card straight is on the board and nobody has like the top end card to win it. So everybody would split that pot, kind of a thing. But yeah, that's how it is. There's 7 cards total, but you only get 2, and the dealer puts the other 5 out in a rhythm, and you base your hand on what's dealt that way. But it's not like 7 card stud, 5 card stud, things like that. This is a particular structure. That's why it's called no limit hold'em. It's the way they structure that very specific game and the way that the cards are dealt.
That's incredible. That's incredible. What was it the first time that you were even introduced to the game? Did you even say, "Oh, too difficult," or "I don't know how," or were you excited for it?
Well, when we first started playing, we were playing, underground home games in Knoxville when we lived in Knoxville, Tennessee. So they were home games where we had the ability to, we learned it by reading books and whatnot kind of before we started playing. But then we just started playing. And, at first it can be confusing and whatnot, but we even taught our kids how to play it when they were young. When we were in Knoxville, sometimes our kids at the home games, our kids would sit at the table my daughter was, I don't even think she was 10 yet. And she would sit at a table and she would play and she would kick all the adults' butts because she could learn it as a young child and figure out all the things that went into it. My son, the same way. Sometimes my kids did better than we did, and half the adults at the table. So, you have to understand, odds and math and things like that, and the different hands and which, from the worst hand to the best hand, you have to remember all that as part of it. But, for us, it's not hard and it's fun. And, we've talked to people and we've learned from people as well, because there's always people, now there's YouTube and everybody's got YouTube channels showing how they play and teaching how they play, things like that. There's poker coaches, just like there's business coaches.
Really?
There are poker coaches. There's poker masterminds, the whole 9 yards. The poker world has become a business world in and of itself.
Wow. Incredible. Incredible. I know we have about 6 minutes left. Let's talk about your passion that also makes you money.
Yes, digital marketing. Marketing is my jam, considering I have a political science degree and was supposed to be the ambassador to Russia. That just kind of never panned out. And, actually, in today's world, I'm kind of glad. I like marketing much better, and I like having my own business much better. But yes, marketing has been my bread and butter in my business all these years. When I first went into business in 2009, it was because of social media and the marketing I did on social media to get clients, to find those 3 women who helped me launch the business, because they started hiring me and they had helped me launch. Marketing has always been my bread and butter as a business owner, but I also love doing it. And I have done different things over the years. I've done business management, I've done operations, I've done a lot of the things, but I always circle back around to marketing, the thing I love and enjoy the most. and myself and my team are the best at. My entire team are all marketing people of different experience, different specialties. And, it's the thing that has always driven my business, even saved my business technically twice now. Not that because in 2019 I lost it all, but I had just launched a side business of a digital marketing agency, and it's a good thing I did, because the exclusive client I had been with let me go. So I had to start over, and I had just started a digital marketing agency as a second revenue stream. So again, marketing, I went toward my passion, toward something, and it ended up saving me from losing it completely and, being done. And it evolves and it changes and it grows. And, I've tried to marry the two, operations and marketing. And, when I don't follow what I really love, when I don't just sit here and, it's like marketing is the thing that we're all passionate about in my company. And it's like, why try to muddy the waters?
Right.
There's nothing wrong with being just marketing, and with us, we've evolved so much, the business and we're not even really an agency anymore. We are really and truly a fractional marketing department, because I have the whole marketing team that works for me, but they also work for my clients. We provide the strategy and the monthly marketing plan and the implementation of it by being a fractional marketing department, from the director of marketing all the way down to marketing assistants who do implementation and everything in between.
I love it. I love it. One of the things that you said early on, that in 2019, because poker, you put all your chips into one, and when that one fell out, you almost lost everything. And I think that's a lesson for everybody, that we can't just have one huge elephant client,
No,
right? Because when that elephant goes away, we're left empty.
we are.
And it's important. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with having an elephant client, but then you also have to get a whale. You also have to get a shark. You also have to get a giraffe. You have to get a monkey.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You need the whole jungle. You need the whole jungle, right?
You do.
And when we consider business, and I think with your digital marketing, you've created that. So even if you had a big whale come in, you may have to put a lot of resources to help that whale, but then you can't let go of the little guppies, if you will, right? You have to take care of everyone as well, and that's why I think what you're doing is brilliant. Creating this whole venture where your team are experts in different areas, right?
Yes, definitely. And it's the easiest way for me to scale my business and not be the one doing all the things, because I, as an individual, can only serve so many people. I mean, back in my solopreneur days and my virtual assistant days, where I was like, I'm just going to be me and I'm just going to serve my clients. But you realize when make decisions like that, it's like, wait, that limits how much money I can make, how many people I can serve, because I do, it's about serving the people and giving them their opportunity to have the impact on their clients and things. And if I can only do that for 3 people as a solo person by myself, there's no room for growth and expansion and serving others in a larger capacity. This way, I can serve as many people as I choose to serve. I can grow the revenue in the business as much as I choose to grow it, because I have the team and I constantly expand the team with new members and new experts. And I have all these little pockets of teams to be able to go, okay, you're this client, you guys are this client, you guys are this client. Oh, and by the way, next month we have client 4 coming on. So the team for that is going to be, and this is what we're going to do.
Right.
And it becomes a well-oiled machine for myself that I can then implement in my clients' businesses as their marketing department too, because what we do in-house is what we do out of house too.
Yeah, I love it. I love the delegating, but then the delegating to delegate, right? That's so important. Sophie, we've come to the time where I got to tell you, wow, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I've gotten to know you a little bit more. I've learned about your passions. You've taught me something. That poker is not as easy as some people claim it is. It's difficult, but if you want to get into it, if you want to get into the world of mystical and magical, Harry Potter is a great way to get into it because it has so many life lessons. And then your digital marketing. I love how you're conducting your personal and your professional life because it's a great mix. It's a great mix so that you can leave the legacy that's important for your children and your grandchildren. And so that 500 years from now, they'll be talking about you. Right.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
that's the beautiful thing. I'd love to give you 30 to 45 seconds, and I'm going to put across the screen your website. Tell people about going to your website and what they can expect.
Sure. So it's SophieZo Next Level Business Support. We take the frustration and guesswork out of digital marketing to get real results for 7 to 8 figure service providers through strategy, content plan, marketing plan, implementation, and flat out being your fractional marketing department so that you don't have to worry about anything to do with marketing. We will take it on and we will make it the best it can be for you and your business.
Love it. Wow, incredible. Everybody make sure you go to her website, and if you need marketing, who better to call than the person with the magic wand who
Absolutely.
will. You have your magic wand?
I have several magic wands because I have a collection of Harry Potter wands. I have probably 10 or 12 wands. So take your pick. We'll pick a wand and we will wave it and we will make it happen.
Love it. Great, great. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And remember, this is my last show for the year. So how could I have made it any better but to have the incredible Sophie joining us in her magical office and her magical attitude and the power that she can bring not only to us, but to your business. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Sophie. I appreciate you. Stick around, everybody. Have an amazing rest of your day. I look forward to seeing you next year with some great and incredible guests. Take care, everybody. Happy New Year. Enjoy. Take care.
Thank you.